Hello, welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly, and today I have one for my simple scrappers. My Simply Scrappin' guarantee for my Simply Scrappin' workshops is always that there will be no equipment needed, no added extras such as stamping or thin cutting or Cricut cutting or that type of thing. They're very, very simple layouts that are pattern oriented. In fact, today's process video is going to focus from start to finish on how I apply a pattern and how I choose papers and colors and that type of thing. It's also going to focus on those times when there is a problem color in your photo and how to make it not a problem. So we're going to use the Cape Cod collection today, which I love, which launched on July 1st. It has gorgeous patterns, and of course it has all ocean and sea themes and those ocean and sea colors with all of our different colors of blue and some wood grain added, and I absolutely love it so much. It has a 12 by 12 sticker sheet that comes with it that has some banners, it has some titles, it has some word stickers, and again, that same color scheme with all of those sea and ocean blues with some of that wood color that goes with the browns. We're also going to use the Cape Cod embellishment set, and it is an extra large set that I absolutely am in love with. It has these die cuts that are craft colored, and then some white sort of distressed beachy colors, and some almost iridescent clear acrylic shapes that I love. I did consider using our brand new season mix-ins with this because I absolutely love the patterns, and you could so easily make them go with Cape Cod. I actually didn't incorporate those, but they would go beautifully. So the very first thing that I do when I'm starting my workshop is I like to look at the coordinating colors, and I like to use the cheat sheet on the zip string. For Cape Cod, we have Bluebird Lagoon, Periwinkle, Toffee, and White Daisy that they suggest as the coordinating colors. And all of these colors, besides the Bluebird, are in the coordinating cardstock pack. 3 sheets of each except Bluebird, but you can see how Bluebird would go well. I also like to pull out other possibilities because sometimes our photos are different than the paper pack. Some of them go and some of them don't. But I feel like Glacier would go, Mist that I showed you first there would go, Seabrook would totally go, and as unlikely as it might seem, Honey Butter or even Lemonade would be a wonderful contrasting color for this. I do believe that Sapphire would be beautiful with this collection. Of course, it's our blue family, and then some muted tones. We have both of our grays, which is pewter and charcoal, and if needed, based on your photos, some espresso would go as well. Sometimes we get stuck on color. Our color books, Love of Color books, Volume 1 and Volume 2, are an amazing help. Sometimes you can have the coordinating colors that they give in the theme pack, but somebody wears a different color bathing suit, or you have a different background, or the photo just doesn't lend itself to that, or parts of it lends itself to that color scheme, but then there's a color that sort of throws a wrench in your plan. So the color books are so great. They have all of our current colors. Volume 1 and 2, of course, also has some retired colors, but I like to actually go to the colors that are like families. So even though Periwinkle is in this, you can look at the wisteria and you can get some great ideas. So you actually see a little bit of the yellows in there based on the photos. You can look at those and you can see some different colors that would go, and sometimes there are colors that I don't think at all would possibly go with a certain color, and it totally does. I like to look through the colors, both retired and our regular colors. So Bluebell is a retired color, but it is close to that Periwinkle and that wisteria family. So I love to look at that and look at all the possibilities, and they give us a variety of choices, and they also give us projects, card projects and scrapbooking layout projects. So even though Carolina is not in this particular workshop, it is from the Blue family. So it kind of shows you, even though Um, Even though you're looking at the blue families, look at how they've incorporated the pink. How often would you have at a beach one of your grandchildren or someone who might have pink in their bathing suit, even though you're going with blue schemes? Here we have another one of our blues from our blue families that shows some good combinations there. I absolutely love to just open up my mind and all of the possibilities in the color families. A lot of times the layouts that they use in our color book are also referenced in our pattern books as well. So I just kind of like to take both retired colors from the color families used, and then look here, the lemonade with the lagoon. Lagoon is one of the coordinating colors in this, and even though they didn't talk about lemonade or honey butter, look how gorgeous it would be. Here would be another example of drawing in some grays and some yellows with those blues if your subject actually had pink in the bathing suit. This is a beach theme, and the chances of the bathing suits fitting your color scheme perfectly are pretty slim, right? And we don't always think ahead of time what bathing suit we're going to wear based on our scrapbooking papers. So I love to pull those in. Then I love to pull our pattern books in, and I often make up my own patterns, but I also love to show people how you can start with a base pattern and completely change it. I love this pattern and the simplicity of this pattern. I love the banners. I think they're beachy. I think they would totally go with Cape Cod. I can't get by with only 2 photos in a double page layout. I definitely need a minimum of 7 photos, I think, in a double page layout, because though I like to have beautiful pages, I like to have functional pages as well. So they have the title here and they have some additional pieces, but I would likely add some more photos across the bottom. So when I like to look at these patterns, I like to try to match up like patterns. So if there is a dot, I like to find a more dot. If they have used cardstock, I like to match up the cardstock. So I like to be able to look at the patterns that I'm using and be able to narrow my patterns down. And I also do that ahead of time so I know how to cut my papers. So I like to use little sticky notes and be able to put down the pattern that I'm going to use. So I do feel that that 1/2 inch strip across the bottom would be perfect for zip strips. So I'm able to write in that I'm going to use those for zip strips. The next pattern that I'm looking at, when you look at the cheat sheet in the workshop guide, I can tell is going to be cardstock. So I don't know necessarily right now what color of cardstock I'm going to use, but I do feel that I've narrowed down which ones are going to be zip strips, which ones are going to be cardstock, and then I can look again at the next one where they've used cardstock. Now you could substitute pattern paper in for cardstock, but it kind of helps me to narrow down how many pattern papers I'm going to need. And it looks like I'm going to need 3 pattern papers, and then there are also some circles that they've used. Now, I always guarantee my simple scrappers that they're not going to need thin cuts or punches or anything, but if you have them, you could totally use thin cuts or punches for your circles, and then you could make your circles out of anything you want. But here's where I could pull in some round stickers off of the sticker sheet to account for the circles that they're showing. Now, you could substitute a different shape. You don't have to use circles, but I'm just showing you how you don't have to get hung up if there's circles in the pattern and you don't have a way, a punch or a thin cut to use those, how it would totally still work for you. So now looking at their pattern examples, now I can narrow down my patterns. So I do think that I can see some of the patterns in here that are busier that I might be able to break that down and use a straight stripe for a more busier pattern. So I'm going to write stripe on that one. I definitely need the wood grain in it. So it's 6 to 1, half dozen to the other. I want to cut one of the remaining patterns with the wood grain, and then probably a busier pattern. And so I'm going to look at maybe the busy C pattern. All of these would work, but I actually feel like if I pull in the busier C pattern, it also has the words on the back. So that's the beauty of our papers, where even if we're only picking 3 pattern papers, that means we actually have 6 patterns to work with. So let's say I get these cut and I don't like one particular side or the other, or I need more patterns, I can flip the patterns over to the other side. Now that I have all of these labeled, I will know exactly, based on the patterns, how to cut each of my pieces, and it makes it so easy. I can actually just pull them out now one by one and begin cutting. I really trust close to my heart in that when they give you these patterns and you're using a theme, it's so easy to just make them work. I've actually cut blindly, like I've just pulled out the papers and let the chips fall where they may, and it's actually pretty rare for them not to work out when you're using the color schemes that Close to My Heart has given you. Now I need 2 cardstocks, and I've actually chosen Toffee and Periwinkle. And I feel like those colors will go with all of the other things that I have chosen to pull out. Now I may add some more because I'm going to add some different elements at the bottom because I need to add more photos. So I just recently got back from a trip to Hawaii, to Maui, and our very first day there, these are those photos. So we look a mess. We have just gotten off of the airplane the night before, and it was super late in the middle of the night, and we sort of did the roll out of bed look, and it was actually 4th of July. So in Maui on the 4th of July, they have what you want to call a tradition where they dump 50,000 orchids from a helicopter. And I don't know if you could see in that first photo, the beach was filled with orchids. Now, these orchids are not the color of Cape Cod. They're actually a purple orchid. And so I have these pictures that I pulled from the helicopter, from the beach, from the flowers landing on the beach, from us looking like pasty white tourists on day 1. And I have thought, okay, how can I pull in this orchid color into this otherwise blues and browns theme? So no problem, right? I can see where I could actually pull in teeny tiny bits of that purple color and make it work. So I'm looking at those where we actually gathered up all of the orchids and we put them out to sea, which is also a tradition. And so I see where my periwinkle and where the wisteria and the grape are really the family, the purple family that I have. And the grape, actually the light grape, is what I feel goes best with those orchids. But how to incorporate it? So simple. A couple tiny little scraps of grape as banners up at the top, I think is going to just draw that color in. Now I would also have the option to put photo mats in of that color as well, but I really think that's going to solve my problem. So we have 2 white daisy background papers, and now all I have to do is cut my papers exactly as the patterns say in our pattern books. That's what I love, and the beauty of Close to My Heart, they'll tell you exactly how you've chosen. Now I chose periwinkle, so I have my periwinkle pieces cut. So I have 2 1/2 by 12 strips. I have 2 1/4 by 12 strips. I have a 3 1/4 by a 4 1/4, and I have a 3 1/4 by a 3 1/4. Now my next pattern is the zip strips, but I will wait for those till the end. But I have my wood grain pattern, and that is 1.5 by 2.25 times 3 and 1.25 times 2. And so I have those, which I can flip to the other side. The next pattern, which is the busy beach pattern, is 1.5 by 2.25. I need 3 of those, and then I need a 1.25 by 2 of that pattern. And again, I can use the back or the front. The next was our toffee, which is the cardstock, our paper number 5. I have 1.5 by 2.25, 1.25 by 2, 2 of them, and a 1/2 by 2.5, 1 of them. The next pattern is my striped pattern, and I have 1.5 by 2.25, and I have 3 of them. The last pattern paper are the circles, which I'm going to take care of through the sticker sheet. So that takes care of all of my pieces except adding some of that purple for the orchids. I did pull out my scrap. I keep them in the 12 by 12 envelopes. I had some sangria, which is an old retired color that I thought might work, but I went back to the grape, which I feel works the best. I'm not exactly sure what size banners yet that I'm going to use, but I think that will help tie everything together. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to dovetail all the banner strips, and I also thought perhaps I could do some tearing. So I think I will dovetail the pattern strip. So I'm going to go up in the center on the bottom about a 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to come in from either side to that center to create the perfect dovetail. So I think I'm going to do that to all of my pattern papers. And then I think I'm going to try tearing the cardstock pieces. So again, when you tear toward yourself, you see the white core of the paper. When you tear away from yourself, you don't see the white core. I like the idea of using some light and dark sides, and I like the idea of using a variety of patterns, either front or back. So now here are all the pieces that are cut directly according to the pattern, but as you can see, I can use either side, which gives me so many more patterns to work with. And I can use either side of those colors. Now I chose to do, I believe, 3/4 by 1.5 for each of the grape strips, but I'm also going to tear some pieces off the bottom so they could end up being smaller or longer or shorter. So they give you exact measurements. For example, on the left-hand side, they say the first banner piece is 3 inches down from the top. It's 1 1/2 inches from the right. And then on the right page, the banners start 1.5 inches as well. But first I'm going to start with the strips. So the periwinkle strips could be light or they could be dark depending on your photos. So I've got one of each here so I can decide. The periwinkle strips that are the 1/4 by 12 also can be light or dark or a combination. And then I need to choose my zip strip on the bottom. So we know that this is a 1/2 by 12. So we have that periwinkle, we have the toffee anchor, or we have the wave strip. I do love all of them, but I do believe based on my photos that the wave strip would work where we're not quite doing a lot of ocean stuff yet. We're barely there. This is our first morning, and we're just kind of getting an introduction to Maui. So I also know that these are photo mats, and so we have a 3x4 photo in the banner, and we have a 3x3 photo in the banner. So I know those are going to go on the periwinkle photo mats. And it's kind of hard to decide, but I may end up using the helicopter. The helicopter is a little bit different of a photo because normally you would have flowers and you would have beach, but I really want the picture of the helicopter in there because I'll be journaling the story about how the helicopter dumped out 50,000 orchids onto the beach so that they would have an eco-friendly event. I know I'm adding photos because there is no way I can get by by with only having 2 photos on a double page spread. I definitely try to get anywhere from 5 to 10 photos on a double page spread to make it more functional. And 100% for my simple scrappers, I guarantee more functional scrapping. By more functional, I mean not just decorative scrapping where you're getting a lot of functional photo opportunities on a page. It is more simple scrapping, and as you're going to see as this layout unfolds, it would totally be amazing with some inking techniques and some stamping techniques and to add some extra bits, but that's not what this layout is about. This layout is for my simple scrappers and keeping it simple. So now I'm just arranging those banner pieces according to the pattern, and the pattern will tell you exactly which strips go in what order. Now, once you're this far, you don't have to follow their pattern, but I'm actually going to put those strips in exactly the order that the pattern shows, just to show you how it would work. The only additions that I have so far are my grape pieces, 4 that are 3/4 by about 1.5, and they're torn at the bottom. Otherwise, I haven't added anything extra to this pattern just yet. So following this pattern in the order that it shows helps me get a good start. So I've sort of laid these out, and then I've counted them out, and then I actually go back and I put them in the identical order that the pattern shows, and then I can work with them from there. And so now you can see that the strips are exactly as the patterns that Close to My Heart came up with. They're exactly how they show. And one of the reasons that I love to use the patterns is it shows you exactly how to start. So you're going to see when I place the very first banner on the left page, I never would have went that straight. You're going to see that it's almost straight up and down. I probably would have angled it, but by putting it straight, it helps all of those pieces fit perfectly. I did think about pulling in the grape for the photo mat, wondering if I have enough grape to make those orchids work, but I decided to go with the original pieces in the pattern and do it exactly how they show. So I put all of them in place exactly how they showed to put them in the original pattern, and of course we're going to be able to decorate and embellish and add to this. Now my additions, instead of that large title and the pieces that they're showing, I'm going to try to add more photos, but I'll be decorating and using some of their examples on how they decorate in the pattern with some of those embellishments from the Cape Cod kit. Now I just, embellishment kit, but now I just have to decide how to both embellish and how to also utilize the stickers and the pieces and the titles given to be able to add my photo. So we have a lot to work with. This embellishment kit for Cape Cod is extra large, and I love that we get so many different parts and pieces to it. So if I arrange my photos like this, I can still use the circles like are the examples in the example pattern from our Make It From the Heart, Make It From Your Heart pattern books. So if I arrange the photos close together on the right page, I would be able to use those circles. I could totally put the title above those photos, or I could have that be a journal spot. There's so many possibilities. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull out some possibles. I don't know what I want to use for a title yet. There's so many possibilities. I do love extending, kind of making that long right there so it isn't all just linear and straight across. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a lot of possible stickers, and I'm going to pull out some embellishments, and I'm actually going to use my anti-static pouch on the back of some stickers so that I can pull a bunch of those out, and I can be able to move those around from place to place to decide what I want to do. The anti-static pouch is just basically like a cornstarch pouch that takes the sticky off of the back, so it allows you to move the stickers around while you're just deciding. So it is kind of a tough decision because, like I said, at this point in our vacation, we weren't snorkeling yet, we weren't tan and brown yet, we were just tourists off the airplane, and we were just kind of getting our introduction. But there's this whole story here about the orchids and how gorgeous that was, and us walking into the ocean for the first time, just letting those orchids go. So I don't really want to use like sun and sea or wild and free sea or any of the super large stickers on the sticker sheet, because I'll have different things that will happen throughout our entire week here at Maui that will go better with that. We have some excursions we're going to take. Actually not planned excursions, but we're just going to go off on our own. We're going to explore the island of Lanai. We're going to go and see some of the volcanic areas. We're probably going to go to the blowhole. We're going to go and do a lot of things. And so I just really want to pull out some different pieces, but there aren't any really big other titles besides the titles on the sticker sheet and maybe the life is a beach or beach life off of the embellishment set. So maybe I can make a few of the smaller words work. We have these really cute distressed words, the beach is calling, and I think that's super appropriate because the beach is calling us. We're just here, we're just like ready to go, and we literally walked out into the resort. And we were like, we knew that there was going to be 4th of July activities, but we didn't know exactly what the activities were going to be. And so we walked onto the beach and we walked out into the beautiful resort, and it was time for the helicopter to drop the orchids. And the beach was calling us, and we were like, this is a perfect segue into the beach to get us acclimated. They had a barbecue and they had some Hawaiian meats and some pineapple, and they had grilled corn on the cob, which will probably be a layout here in a little while because, oh my goodness, we were starving, and we got some of the grilled corn on the cob, and it sounds so simple, but it was so delicious. So I'm experimenting now with some of the circles because they gave circle examples in the pattern book. And so we have a few different circles that we could work with. I like this little umbrella. I like the journal circle as well. But if I use the journal square over on the left page with the beach chair and I journal in that, I won't really want to use both of my journal stickers. If I use my my journal sticker, 2 journal stickers, then I won't have any journal stickers for some of the other layouts. So I really kind of want to only use one of the journal opportunities. So here's another way that I can incorporate some of the grape. It seems like I'll have kind of like a little space up to the top of the right page that needs some fillers. And when I was cutting my wood grain pieces, there was this tiny sliver of wood grain left over. So I could just tear a little bit of the leftover grape, tear a little bit of that wood grain, and then maybe add another sticker to the top of that to make a little cluster on the right side. We do have another circle sticker that is a little bit more lagoonish color or glacier color that maybe is a little bright. We have seagulls, which we did see all over, all kinds of seabirds that we did see that might be cute. A cluster of birds over flying off to the left might be really cool. I love the craft embellishments. Of course, we can embellish some of these banners with some of the little pieces. We have some little starfish that are in both kind of a distressed white, almost like distressed white chipboard in the embellishment kit. And then we also have them in craft, and we have seashells in the white and in the craft as well. And then we also have those in the acrylic shapes that are kind of not iridescent, but kind of see-through. And so I can experiment a little bit with adding little tiny bits and pieces to the tops of the banners. And you can always see where I already see where you have a base pattern that might appear to be a little bit plain Jane at first, but once you get going and once you start with all of the embellishments and it just sort of starts to take shape before your eyes, and then you make it your own based on your own photos. So let's say your photos don't have the grape color, which it's very likely that they don't. I didn't expect the grape colored orchids to be in this, and so that was just a complete surprise. Had the orchids not been in this, our swimming suits and our what we were wearing probably would have completely just stayed with the beachy blues, right? And the browns. So maybe you have someone in your photos that has a pink bathing suit or a purple bathing suit or a red bathing suit. So maybe instead of the grape bits that you're putting in there, you would put the red in there, or you would put the pink in there. So you don't have to stress if your colors don't particularly match the theme. You can add little bits here and there to tie it all together. So now I'm still playing. I'm just playing with adding, and you can add as much or as little as you want. My promise with my simple scrappers is I'm not going to go too crazy, but you can very much see here how you could do some distress inking. You could do some background stamping. You could add some Cricut bits. You could do a lot of things to this layout to turn it into more of a sparkle and shine layout, more of a fancier layout. But my Simply Scrappin' promise is we keep it simple. It's fast, it's easy. Now I have adhered down all of those pieces that I thought might work, and it's really taking shape. I'm loving how this has all come together. And I did decide to use the umbrella sticker, and I cut it off, and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with this little tiny bit with the umbrella showing? It doesn't make any sense to put that up at the top, but the pattern suggested a little round piece. Sometimes you need some rounded shapes when you have mostly squares and rectangles. But now I could add something to that sticker, maybe another little round sticker, maybe a word sticker that would sort of hide the fact that that's a little umbrella piece, and that could be put right over the top. So where just the bottom of that little rounded piece shows, and it's just enough to make a nice rounded shape with all of those rectangles and to follow the pattern a little bit more. And I love it. It worked out so great, and I wasn't wasting that other little tip. Now maybe adding a few little doodads. So maybe a few of the acrylic hearts or some of the acrylic shells, maybe adding just a little bit. I think less is more with all the banners. You don't need much. Again, you could do some splattering with some shimmer brush. You could do some inking, but we're keeping it simple for my simple scrappers, and I hope they are happy. A layout like this could be put together really in no time flat. And look at how very little pattern paper is used in this. So little pattern paper. Simply some pattern paper banners, and all the rest is cardstock and some zip strips, and you have a cute layout that actually has incorporated 6, 7, 8 photos in it to be my intro to Maui and to say welcome to Maui and happy 4th of July with 50,000 orchids. It was a perfect first day. Thank you so much for watching. Please throw me a comment, hit like and subscribe. I hope this has been helpful in showing you how you can use patterns to make simple scrapbook layouts work for your photos and to make unlikely colors match and work. Happy scrapping. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Aloha.